Hi, Jen from PepperHarrow here. Today we're going to be potting up amaryllis and some paperwhites. Okay, so to pot up amaryllis and paperwhites, you're going to need a few things. So the first thing I have here is a little planter. During the winter months, we love planting up potted bulbs. Here we have our little amaryllis bulb, and over here we have our little paperwhites. As a farm, this really gives us a great way to create and generate a little bit extra revenue and cash flow for our farm. It's also a really great added benefit as we're selling fresh cut greenery wreaths, swags, and all of the holiday items. This is another great holiday item that we can add to the mix for our little farm shop that we have on the farm. We also really love potted bulbs because it adds so much goodness in the middle of winter to have something growing and blooming and looking absolutely incredible. It adds just a little bit of extra cheer for the holiday season. The first thing we're going to start with is potting our amaryllis, and then we'll move to the paperwhites. To pot up our amaryllis, you can do this in a couple different ways. You can plant it in soil, which I have here, or you can actually put it in a clear glass vase with a little bit of water in the bottom. Either way works. You just have to put a little bit of water in the bottom, enough to get these little roots, to give these little roots something to drink from. But today I'm gonna pot this up in soil because that's how we usually do it here on the farm. I have a little container here that is lined with a little plastic liner to make sure that the water doesn't get out of it. So this is the little container I'm using, this beautiful little wooden box. The first thing I'm going to do is to put a little bit of pea gravel in the bottom of the little box that I have here, and maybe half an inch or so of pea gravel. So I'm gonna put my pea gravel in. And why I'm putting the pea gravel in is it gives the water something to sit in to make sure that the roots don't get too wet. They won't stay consistently moist. So having the rocks in the bottom just gives the water a little bit of an area to sit in to make sure that it doesn't have wet feet on the little amaryllis bulb. I'm gonna put in one more little scoop of pebbles. All right, so I have my pea gravel in the bottom of my little container here. I'm gonna set that aside. The next thing I'm going to do is to put a couple scoops of the soil in the bottom. Not a lot, just enough to have the bulb be able to have something to sit in. You can see here, it's not incredibly deep. I'm gonna take my amaryllis bulb and kind of take it, and I turn it a little bit and push it down into the soil just a little bit, like so. And the last thing I'm going to do is put a little bit more soil in here just to top it off, to make sure that there's something to weigh it down and make it a little bit heavy, that it won't completely topple or fall out of this little container. Okay, so I almost have that completely filled up. I'm just pushing the soil down around the bulb a little bit to fill in some of the gaps, making sure it's all spread out evenly. Okay, that's the last thing I'm gonna do for this soil. Now, just to dress it up and make it a little bit prettier, I'm gonna take some of my green moss, and this is just regular moss that comes from the south. I think it was probably dyed green, but I love this green color. It just looks a little, I don't know, a little bit festive for the holiday season, but I take just a little bit of moss and I just use it to top dress the top of my bulb. This just makes it look a little bit more organic and festive, like I said, because of the green color. It looks really, really nice. And then optional, you can put a plant tag in. My amaryllis app actually came with plant tags with care instructions, which is really nice for my customers. So I'm gonna pop my plant tag in and you're ready to go. If you want, you can add twigs or sparkly things coming out of here to give it a little bit more of a festive look. It's certainly up to you on how you want to dress your amaryllis up. Care instructions, once you have everything potted up. I typically water my amaryllis once a week. I don't give it a ton of water. It's not recommended that you give them a lot of water before they start sending up the greenery and before they start blooming. Once it does send up a little green sprout, you will want to water a couple times a week. You're going to start to increase the amount of water you give it as it starts to grow. You can expect that your potted amaryllis will typically bloom within 6 to 12 weeks. So if you have people asking, or if you are wondering that yourself, 6 to 12 weeks after you have it potted up, it will start to bloom. I feel like when I put it in more of a bright space that it blooms earlier. So keep that in mind, the brighter space out of direct sunlight, but a bright room, it's going to bloom a lot quicker than if you have it in a little bit more of a shaded location. Another thing to consider if you're growing amaryllis is what kind of color of amaryllis that you like. A lot of our customers here at PepperHarrow love red amaryllis, and it was one of the #1 things we were asked about last weekend when we had our farm shop. All of our customers wanted red amaryllis. So I don't know if that's on trend, but a lot of customers were asking for red. It's fun sometimes to do some different colors. In fact, this year we're doing a variety called Picasso. It's all white, but it has a red rim lined out on the entire bloom. It's absolutely gorgeous. Another variety to look at is Minerva. It is kind of a red and white pickety look, variegated. It looks absolutely stunning. And then a double variety we're trying this year called Alaska was a real hit with a lot of our customers too. So a pure white double, something unique, something you can't find at many places. That's our recommendation, is to try some things that you can't normally find anywhere else. If you're looking for amaryllis bulbs, a few places that you can try are your local flower farms in your area, garden centers, nurseries, and even your local hardware store should have amaryllis bulbs for purchase that you can start on your own. Okay, now that our amaryllis is potted up, I'm gonna move on and show y'all how we do our paper whites. It's almost the exact same process. We just put a few more paper whites in instead of just the one bulb. So I have a little container here that I'm gonna use. It's nice and wide so I can put multiple paper white bulbs into one container. You could actually put amaryllis bulbs in here too, as well, maybe 3 together to make kind of a statement piece. But for this, I'm gonna put paper whites in here. All right, so I have my container. Again, I'm gonna take and put a little bit of my pea gravel in the bottom. This one's a little bit bigger, so I have to put more pebbles in the bottom. And then next, I'm gonna take and put some of my soil in there. And this is just a nice potting mix for the soil that I'm using. And for this, I have to put a lot of soil in here because I'm basically gonna I'm gonna nest my bulbs in on top, but I wanna make sure that I fill this pretty far up. So I have this soil filled almost to the top. There's just a little bit of room there. And I'm gonna take my paper white bulbs. I almost said amaryllis. I have 7 paper white bulbs here, and somebody asked if we take off the skins on our bulbs. We don't always, but sometimes they create kind of a mess, so if you want to peel them off, you can. I usually just take off the extra little straggler pieces that come off. So I'm gonna pop in putting the side down where I can tell the roots are gonna grow. Where the roots are gonna grow, that's the side that goes down into the soil, and I'm gonna take it and just wiggle it and push it down. And again, some of that skin's coming off. I'm just gonna strip it. I actually have a little bud coming out of here, a little sprout. But this is the bottom, this is the top. So I'm gonna put my second one in, my third. We'll see how many fit in here. There's 4th, looks like maybe only 6. So I am packing my paper white bulbs in here pretty tight. I couldn't fit my 7th in there, so I'm gonna set it to the side. I do have them packed in here pretty tight, which I want. It's okay, you don't have to give them a ton of space. Crowding them is gonna make them grow nice and tall. So I have my paper whites in my container. That's how I'm gonna do that. Sometimes with my paper whites, I will end up popping more pea gravel in here just to kind of nest them a little bit more in on the top. So you can take a few more little pieces of pea gravel. And just kind of put the pea gravel on the top up here. You can leave just the pea gravel exposed on the top, which looks like this. Or now that I have my pea gravel on, usually I'll end up taking more and putting more moss on top. Okay. And I just make sure, yes, I cover them, but I just leave a little opening for the top of the little paper white to come out from under the moss, just so it doesn't get too tangled up in there. It's not gonna hurt anything if you cover the paper white bulbs up with the moss though. They'll still pop up through there and end up blooming. So don't fret about that. That got a little wild. It needs a little haircut. Okay, so now I have my little moss on top. My little paper white bulbs are in here. Again, for care instructions, everyone always asks, how long now until these paper whites are gonna bloom? Paper whites are way, 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 way faster than amaryllis. So paper whites are gonna bloom in 3 to 4 weeks, very, very quick. It depends on what time of year you're at, but right now, if I wanted these to bloom for the holidays, what I would do is take these and put them in a cool, dark place and kind of hide them until if I want these to bloom for Christmas, for example, I'm going to pull these out of the cool, dark place 3 to 4 weeks before Christmas. So on or around December 1st-ish, I'll pull them out and get them going. If I start them now, since I'm actually mid-November, they're gonna bloom a little bit early. So either wait and keep them in a cool, dark place, or if you want, you can do different successions of them. So do different potted plants. So this is one I'm going to do, and I'm gonna start another one a couple weeks from now so that I can have blooming flowers inside all holiday season to enjoy. You might be wondering what variety of paper whites I have here, and the variety that I just planted up is called Winter Sun. It's a new variety that I'm trying this year, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It has a white bloom with a little cheery yellow center that is just like, I totally need it in the middle of winter when everything else is hibernating. It really adds a lot to our home in the middle of winter and just really brings us a lot of joy. Just like the amaryllis, you can find paper whites at your local flower farm, garden center, nursery, or a local hardware store. They're pretty easy to find. You probably just will be more limited in selection to whatever they happen to have on hand, whichever varieties. And it doesn't matter what variety you get, just having something blooming inside your home is gonna add a lot of cheer for the holiday season. If you all liked today's video, please like and subscribe. And of course, as always, comment below what was your favorite part of the video. And as always, thanks for joining and happy growing.